The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, talking business in blockchain.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Trader Cobb Crypto Show. Today's guest, look, I'm probably going to tell you the truth by saying we've never had a title quite so long. This man is the head of investments, technology, media, and telecom sectors at Leoni Capital. It is Wee Meng. Thank you so much for your time today. Can't wait to rack your brain.
Hey, mate, thanks for the opportunities. Hello from Singapore. And, I'm very happy to be invited to this call. So let me introduce myself and where we came from and what do we do. So we are basically a private equity stroke venture capital company based out of Singapore, regulated by the Monetary Authority of Singapore government, but we invest globally. And it is a tech fund focus where we do anything. All the investment has to be a tech-focused strategy.
Okay.
So let me just give a very quick introduction of our fund.
Yeah.
So we are basically looking at investing globally. We've got an asset under management of 1.6 billion, and we are heavily investing into US, Japan, China, India, and the emerging countries like Southeast Asia. And some of the key portfolios I will be very proud to mention are companies like SpaceX.
Yeah, cool.
Tesla.
Yep.
Alibaba.
Okay.
Cloudera, Palantir, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you will notice that the investment that we are doing is very much private, but looking at how to turn and scale disruptive companies into a global leaders. So those companies that we've been in has always been about 5 years waiting to help them look at growing their business and scale globally. And I'm very proud to say that over the 12 years of our fund management experience, we have been attaining year by year over 70% IRR, because we are purely not just a finance guy. We are a team of global managers that had experience in managing business operations globally. So for myself, I used to run Hewlett-Packard Southeast Asia and Oracle Asia Pac Japan. And I was one of the few pioneers who brought cloud computing, this company called VMware, into Asia Pacific region. So, skill set like ours is pretty much helping disruptive technologies and scale out becoming a global leaders. This is what our trademark is.
Yeah, well, look, I looked, first up, thank you for that introduction. That was a fantastic intro, a bit of your background, bit of what you're doing. I did note on the website when I went through it, that, look, there's not a great deal there, and there doesn't need to be when you're in a fun sort of environment. Look, your positioning definitely is around, it's all about disruptive technology. Now, of course, you're talking about Alibaba, you're talking about Tesla and SpaceX, amongst others. These are literally the cream of the crop, the biggest success stories in the world when it comes to disrupting their marketplaces. Now, I know that we're talking here on the Trader Cobb Crypto podcast and show and whatever else we call the bloody thing, but the question is this. You are starting to move into the blockchain space. Obviously, it's just an extended arm, like an octopus's eighth arm. It is an extension of technology using blockchain. Is it a big focus for the fund, or is it a little dabble right now as the space tries to find its feet?
You see, my fund focus on making business and direct impact using technology.
Yep.
So literally, while we are really a technology investor, we not necessarily look at the technology. We look at how to solve the problem. I think at the end of the day is how are you going to build business model that is able to scale and create competitive advantage that is able to replicate this using technology. All right?
Yep.
So we don't necessarily go after the technology.
Right.
Of course, are in the frontier of know-how in technology, but at the end of the day, like I said, how it makes the business a big impact in creating competitive advantage. So for us, we look at sector-based. For instance, okay, we talk about, the space technology like SpaceX, right?
Yep.
So, we look at where the upstream of the whole space industry, and then we look at what are the problems that today this space industry has been heavily dominated by defense, government, investment. But today, because of new technologies are evolving, we are bringing this into a new evolution. And now we are able to even fund $5 million project to launch a rocket up to the orbit. All right. So game changer, reason why it's not because that's just the technology, is because we've found ways to disrupt the market and solve really big issues, right? That is able to create values to businesses, to consumer, and benefiting the whole industry.
See, I love that. That the perspective you just gave is fantastic. I mean, it's very similar to the way I position ourselves with what we do, in the sense that, look, I'm not a technologist. I'm not a coder. I'm not somebody who fully understands every single little detail of everything within this blockchain space, but I am somebody who's running a business and building around the ecosystem, because just like you, in a sense, obviously about a gazillion or 1.4 billion times smaller, or at least well over, a huge amount less. Of course, what we're looking to do is we've located a market that existed. We're trying to capture a hold of that. And we're trying to develop that. And what I see as a truly fascinating space, and what we're doing, is the amount of blue sky that is still out there. If you look at the penetration of people inside of our space, which is, digital assets, digital currencies, and blockchain, the penetration is still so small. You look at the internet, it's like 55% penetration now, with 4 point something billion users across the world, or whatever the exact numbers are. We are down below 1% of that right now in this space. So the blue sky is there, the opportunity is there. There are a shitload of problems, excuse my French, and that's what I'm here to try and solve. So I get that. So we talk about a lot of those disruptive things right now that you're looking at as far as space. You gave a great example there. My interest is this. I mean, what's next? What is the other industries, aside from, electric cars, of course, we know with Tesla, SpaceX, we understand that. What other areas right now are you seeing that are really open, really wide open to be disrupted?
You know what? We are living in a very interesting world because it's so globalized.
Yeah.
And there's so much of this, I call this efficiency, that we can introduce into a cross-border, right? So, the reason why we are into the space, into the aerospace sector, is not just to build more rockets. I want to just highlight that we need to, at the end of the day, makes this whole planet be a better world that we live in. So I'm talking about the big picture, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
If you look at it, we've got very underlying technologies like cloud computing, we've got blockchain, we've got all these. I think these are all very nice, but people, at the end of the day, always forgot that how are you going to change the world in this, using this technology? So we look at it from the other perspective, right? So we look at it that, hey, there's so many people who understand technology now, but capitalists like us, our job is to shape the new world. Our job is to build entrepreneurs as good as Elon Musk, as good as Jack Ma, that is able to bring benefits to this whole world. So our philosophy, the principle of us looking at the deal and investing, is to how create the value working with serious entrepreneur will tomorrow become the next Jack Ma and Elon Musk. What problem are they solving? Not what technologies that they are able to use. All right? And the world is so small now, and because it's so small, we are able to replicate many things that we can do. So I give you one example again, that we are working with the space industry to create agriculture productivity, to create food security,
Yeah,
right? To fight climate change and to help humanitarian relief efforts.
Yep.
All right. So this whole thing is about ecosystem. At the end of the day, we create this technology leadership to build an ecosystem that is able to make a big difference. So just since we are all talking about, technology that perhaps like blockchain, we are definitely looking into the blockchain. The reason why I look at blockchain is not because there's so many of these blockchain events going on. It's because this underlying technology is able to help create food security. All right?
Yep. Got it.
And at the end of the day, we are looking at the companies that is able to solve the problem. There's so many of these technologies that they claim they know blockchain. The first question that I will ask them normally is which part of the problem and which industry that you can solve to create an impact using blockchain. All right? So, this whole fundamental has to be set as an investor, as a capitalist, and also as a partner that we're going to work with you for the next 3, 5, 10 years. So this is, I think, we lack of in the fund management market. Many times, VCs will always ask, about all these tech questions. They will just ask the questions that, hey, how are you going to make a difference in terms of the way you create this whole blockchain's protocol, you create this blockchain application, all right? But many times they don't come from a perspective where what problem
are we trying to
they
solve?
are able to bring a blockchain companies to solve the ecosystem they are already in, right? For instance, of course, there are a lot of investors in the agriculture sector, right? So we like to bring forth that innovation of how working with the technology guys and bringing them to the ecosystem and creating a problem-solving project. So this is how we look at things. And I was in Emergence last week. I was a keynote speaker. And, one of my key message today is when Australia look at the first industry that they're trying to create this whole transformation, the first thing is to create educational workshop with traditional industries and let them understand that, there are a lot of opportunities to transform the business. All right? Create the set, list down the set of challenges, and VCs can work with them to look at identifying how to solve this problem, working with technology companies like startups. So I think it should be that constructive way to help create the new industry by engaging the stakeholders, which is the industry domain guys, the capitalists, and also, of course, the technopreneur coming together.
I hear you, lad. I mean, it's what I find fascinating is that you've got such a broad outlook. Now, I speak with a lot of fund managers, okay? By virtue of what I do behind this microphone, I'm interviewing a lot of people, all right? So I do speak with a lot. And often when I sit down with them, even if I'm literally sitting down talking to them because they're my mates or I've met them at an event or that I'm hosting or whatever it may be, often they're looking for 3 to 5 years. Now, you mentioned something quite interesting before, which is a bit outside of what a lot of funds, be it private equity or VCs, they want their exit, right? They're putting their money in, they want their 3 to 5. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be an ICO or is it going to be an IPO? How are we going to get our money back out of this thing? You said before, and I really picked up on this, you're talking between 5 to 10, 15 years when you work with the entrepreneurs that you're working with, right? So you're really building on that big picture, that a lot of work needs to be done, but we're really trying to make something completely special that will change the world or change the way a certain thing is done, therefore opening up the avenues for it to change the world further down the supply chain, so to speak, right? Where are you finding your investors? Where are you finding your entrepreneurs from? Because you've got a pool of funding, you've got a long-term vision. These are two things that I can tell you people are looking for. How do you cut through all the crap out there, and do you have some sort of incubator program, or do you have a thoroughfare of where you get the people that you want to be speaking to? I mean, your job must be spending a lot of time talking with people, right?
So it's basically the way we scale our business, the way that we can identify the top cream is to build a partner ecosystem. So we do not invest alone. We invest with our partners, and we also invest into the funds that we think strategically they will be able to find, incubate those good companies and entrepreneurs on our behalf.
Yep.
Okay, so we look at a holding period of 7-10 years because we are not here to take the first round of investment and we exit in the third round. We are here to build the company values.
Yes.
Okay. The way that we look at is we are the builder. If we don't build, then basically we become just a transaction manager. So none of our fund managers in our setup looks at transaction. We look at building the values. And because we are able to build the values, oh man, can you imagine that, if you were to go invested in Jack Ma in 1999, and when you exited in 2016 partially, can you tell me how many times have you made? It is enormous. So see, this is the kind of business that you want to, because the more that you build this track record, the more investors is going to come to you, mate.
Yeah.
We are not chasing after
scalability, right?
We are building scalability in investments that where the investor look at us and says that, hey, period, I'm going to come in and work with you to help you to expand your portfolios.
So when you say you come in and you help build with entrepreneurs, I mean, you are a scaling beast, I would imagine. You've got capital, you've got know-how, you've got obviously a very intelligent team. It sounds like, I mean, you're across a lot of different sectors within this fund. I can imagine you're a very busy bloke. I mean, when it comes to the scaling side of it, how much involvement are you looking to have? I would imagine it would be something like a board seat and maybe a chairman type role as an advisor, or are you putting dirt in the ground and getting feet within that business?
No. Again, a lot of people get misled. You do not need to be in the chairman or what. For us, our model is to put in a significantly minority in there.
Right.
All right. And whether we put in as a board directors or if it's not, it doesn't matter. So long as we sit in the board as an observer to work with the entrepreneur and help them create more resources along. Okay? Because I want to get my hands dirty, not attending the board, not sitting in the board looking at the numbers. I want to get my hands dirty, spending my time reaching out to the market and helping those portfolio companies
connect,
scale out by building partnerships, by looking at how to look at a way we could overcome regulatory barriers, right? A strategy to overcome regulatory barriers and look at how their innovations can turn into an intellectual property asset that will be able to scale out by doing cross-border IP licensing, and also help them to fight against the big giants competitor. So these are some of those brain juice that you need to provide to your portfolio. It's not those sitting in the board looking at the numbers and then call it that, hey, okay, this is what we want. No. Again, I must say is that our hands are very dirty building the business because we are the stakeholders of the company. And we've been doing it for many years.
Sorry, I thought you.
Yes.
All right, I was going to say, when I speak to a lot of VC firms or private equity, it does appear that a large part of that is about the connection process. It's about working within, and often a larger fund will have different holdings in different companies, for which they'll look around the board and look, I'd be doing exactly the same, and we're already plugging different things into our business and looking at the ecosystem that they control to a certain extent and have arms into. And going, okay, well, does this investment tie in with the ones that I've already got? So therefore, by strengthening one, I can strengthen the whole other parts as well to help to develop and build something further out. Is that a similar type of strategy as what you're looking at in terms of the partnership side of things, or?
Sorry, mate, I lost you for a while. I think there was some latency over the line. Can you just briefly explain the...
So with a lot of VCs or private equity, what I'm seeing with the ones that I'm speaking with at the moment, what they're looking to do is, because they have holdings in various different other companies, when they sit down and look at an investment, of course they're connected people as well. So they're looking at it from a holistic point of view, where they're thinking, well, what does this business do? If I can acquire part of this and it ties in with the others, not only are you building the singular, but you're also building the other parts within that ecosystem. Is that a big part of what you guys are looking at as well, to see what connects within your already established $1.4 billion fund?
Yes, positively. That's what I meant by the ecosystem, because, yes, and different investors has different appetite, and pretty much they have been mandated in a different way. Yep. So our job is to get to know all of this, get acquaintance, and bring in the right sources to them. And that's why I always not short of good deals, because we've got a good partnering model. People knows what we do, and it's a food chain. VC sector needs to create a food chain as well, right? Not everybody goes in at the same round. There must be different investors, different VCs coming in at the different stages, taking over the baton, and then driving new values. All right. So we have been doing it with our partners in the US. We've been doing it with our partners in Europe, and I think we are Singapore-based, so that's why we've got more connection. We understand the regulation better than the others in Asia, and more important is also the culture, right?
Yeah. And you're in the middle of the world, so it's nice and easy for you to hop on a plane and be just about anywhere you want. It's a very good place to be and a very good place to do business from. So coming into that a little bit further, when you're looking at an investment, do you have the typical size minimum investment that the fund will make, or is it are you open to opportunities? How do you structure that when you're allocating capital?
Right. For us, we are more into the growth stage. So we look at from 2 million to 20 million kind of check size that we typically cut. So for us to co-invest with partners, typically the round is about 20 to 50 million kind of funding. Yep. So this is what we do. But having said that, we are beginning to also cherry pick some small deals at Series A, if not also pre-A. The reason why is because, like what you say, we want to stitch things coming together. And because this is a very digitalized economy, sometimes there will be some technology will be very useful for you to construct the overall portfolio together. So we are now beginning to do that. So we have no issue doing that, because it's not because we want more portfolio companies. No, we want to have strategic portfolio companies that can fit into our overall value creation strategy.
Yeah, and look, you can, in that sense, I mean, if you get in at the right time, you can also help to mold the culture of that entrepreneur within their own ecosystem, because I'm sure that many get a little bit pig-headedness. It's sort of my way or the highway. I rule the universe. It's my business, so I'll do it my way. And most great business people that I know are the ones that are able to listen and really take on board what's actually going on. Getting into that earlier stage allows you to, I guess, mold a little bit more. And the culture should already exist for a good business. That's the internal culture. But that culture can shift if the leaders of that change are really invested in it. So I can understand why you're sort of reaching out into that earlier stage as well. That it makes good sense. And obviously, I am here in Australia. We have a global audience. However, I must say, we do a lot of travel here as well. Is there anything that's exciting coming out of our country that you're aware of right now?
Well, I was just in your country last week. I spent a whole week at Emergence.
Can't believe I missed you.
Brisbane and Sydney, and I've seen so many of these entrepreneurs that they've got the potential, right? So, if I were to just give you a key takeaway over what I've really observed, I think Australia needs to have more VCs. The access to capital is still very limited.
Yep.
And there's a lot of innovations in the country. However, I think I would encourage for people to step up to look at becoming more of the VC capacity and not just coming from the finance sector. I think, people like me coming from the technology sectors, I think people like them will be a good candidate to really create the new era of venture capitalist industry. And I see a lot of opportunities. And we are ready to co-invest with all these VCs, big and small, into your country. I think Australia innovations can take the whole world by storm. It's just that today, the access of capital is very limited, and a lot of the funding is available at the early stage, but I see very little that is in the growth stage. And this is so critical. If you don't take companies to a growth stage funding, they will never be able to turn bigger.
Yeah.
And I urge listeners, audience, that you are in the fund management sector, please address this gap. And I think this gap will help and turn around the whole innovation sector in Australia.
Well, look, on that note, I think that's a wonderful place to end up. I mean, it's a great bit of advice. We see it day to day. There's an enormous amount of an entrepreneurial spirit here in Australia, a huge amount of innovation definitely going on. We certainly are the land of the people that what we say over here is have a go. It would be wonderful to see more VCs coming in, some bigger funding coming in as well, outside of just a seed round and maybe Series A going a little bit further into the growth and development stage, as you say, to stop Australian companies having to, look elsewhere, look abroad, move away. We can still do great things from in this country and still have an international perspective in our businesses. So it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Wee Meng. I wish you all the best with Leoni Capital. And thank you so much for sharing your insights. They're very valuable. I look forward to meeting you one of these days. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure. And also my honor to be, in this call with you. And please remember us. And, we are very interested to come into Australia. And, possibly in the near future, we should sit down with a group of VCs having a fire chat and see how we can work together ahead. All right?
I can make it happen. I look forward to it, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the show. Bye for now.
The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, talking business in blockchain.